Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of a Playmakers View. I'm your host, as always, Jamie Burdish. I appreciate you guys joining this week's episode. Today, I have a really cool guest joining me. His name is Michael Plassmeyer. For those of you who know, St. Louis area high schools, Michael went to Destined, and then went on to play at Mizzou. Had himself a great career over there, and landed himself a spot in the Tampa Bay Rays organization. So I'm going to let him do a little bit more of the introduction, as always, and we're going to dive into his career in general, what he's up to now, and all that good stuff. So I hope you guys learn a lot about Michael, and hopefully one of these days we'll be seeing him up in the big leagues. But without further ado, we're going to kick things off, and here we go. All right, guys, so like I said, I have Michael Plassmeyer joining the podcast. First off, thank you, Michael, for joining the show. It's an honor to have you on. I want you to give the viewers a brief overview of who you are and all that good stuff. So if you could just tell us, what you're doing right now and all that good stuff.
Thanks for having me. Michael Plassmeyer, like you said, I'm with the Tampa Bay Rays. I born and raised St. Louis, whole life. Went to DeSmet High School and then went to Mizzou for college, so kind of stayed around the state. And then was drafted by the Mariners and then played short season with them in 2018 and then traded to the Rays after that and just played my first full year there and started this season there, and then got sent home from spring training when COVID came.
Gotcha. So can you talk to me a little bit about your experience, going from DeSmet all the way up until, being, I don't know exactly which level you're at now, but, you're playing professional ball. So what has that journey been like for you?
I mean, baseball's always been something that I've kind of wanted to do. My dad played, my grandpa played. My brother was a pitcher in college, and he's actually a pitching coach now for me at the place I train at. And so it's always been something like I've pursued and kind of been a dream of mine. So it's been kind of wild ride and everything, going from team to team, but played summer ball with St. Louis Gamers in high school, and they did a pretty good job of getting me some exposure out there, traveling around the South, playing tournaments down there and everything. Got lucky enough to get recruited by Mizzou, went there for 3 years. Actually had 3 different pitching coaches there, so had quite a bit of turnover and everything, but I enjoyed my time there, and they helped me get a lot better, along with Premier Pitching Performance is where I train at right now. Been there since, I guess, started college, really. And, yeah, I got picked up out of there and been with 2 different teams, so kind of been all over the place, but it's been great and wouldn't change anything about it.
Yeah, so what are you up to now? You're at P3 and all that stuff, but what is it looking like? So when do you guys have to maybe report back for next year? And can you tell me a little bit about where you were at before everything happened? You said you went to spring training, so where were you at with the Rays organization?
We were about to start our, I guess, like games against our inter squad games actually before we even played the teams like around us. But we don't know what level we're at when we're there. We're kind of waiting to be assigned. They tell you a couple days before spring training ends. I was in high A the year before, so my goal was to at least start double A, but we don't know exactly where we were. And then got sent home. It was probably second week of March, maybe second or third week, and been training at P3 since. St. Louis, we kind of had a little shutdown period here, like I'm sure pretty much everybody else has, at the probably end of March, beginning of April, maybe. So through with my brother at home. Like I said, kind of got lucky having my pitching coach living with me and everything. But that just kind of got to make do with probably about 3 weeks or so. And then P3 opened back up after that, and just been training 5-6 days a week out there ever since. We don't know exactly when we're going back or any of those kind of details. I think they're kind of waiting to see how the season plays out and then going to go from there. But hoping to have some sort of camp, and if not, just start fresh next year and have everything be at least as close to normal as we can get.
Yeah, so what is that like? You said you were training with your brother. So what is that like for you? Is it kind of weird, or is it, a good thing to have him? I don't know how much older he is, but it seems like a pretty cool experience to have your brother help you out.
Yeah, it's been nice. I mean, my dad was my first pitching coach, so it's always kind of been in the family with us. And I mean, overall, it's been really good to have him there. He's obviously known how I've thrown my entire life, and we grew up playing catch together, playing for each other's teams and all that kind of stuff. So he's seen me develop as I've gone. So he knows what works for me, what doesn't work for me. And being my brother, he's not afraid to be blunt with me, so he can tell me how it is straight up, which is always good. So it's been good overall.
Yeah. So when you were training and growing up, obviously you wanted to be in the big leagues and all that stuff. What did it take for you to get to this level that you're at now? You work with your brother, work with your dad. What other things did you do, and especially the mental side of it too? It's a tough side, mental and physical. Baseball is all around tough. But what kinds of things did you do to get to where you're at now?
I mean, I've always just loved it. So a little bit extra work. Like I would go to my brother's practices, like just because I wanted to. I didn't see it as like, oh, I got to go to practice. Like I got to do all this extra stuff. So I've always enjoyed it. So that made the grind of it a little bit easier for me. But I've always been a guy who's able to throw strikes and, mix pitches. Got decent feel for moving the ball around the plate. So for me, it's always kind of been about adding velocity or getting a better breaking ball or working on my changeup, that kind of stuff. So I would say I started doing weighted balls in probably first year of college, I would say. And that helped me a bunch. Before that in high school, Dave Stewart at Destined, he's still there actually now, got me into long toss with Travis Griffin, who was our assistant coach there. And that helped me a bunch, just max intent, throw it far as you can. And like being a command guy, you always want to see the ball like around the plate. If you're not throwing strikes, you kind of get upset with yourself. So that can kind of cause me to almost hold back a little bit, even though when I'm not trying to, I'm trying to just cut it loose. So to have like no target, just throw this thing as hard as you can or as far as you can, that was huge for me. And picked up a couple miles an hour after my freshman, sophomore year of college. And that's when things started kind of clicking for me and thought that I could, play at the next level.
Gotcha. So looking back at your whole career, what has been one or two great moments that you've had? I mean, maybe getting drafted or, a specific game, specific moment. What is something when you look back at your career that you're really thankful for?
Obviously getting drafted, just having that opportunity with the Seattle Mariners. They were a great organization. Got really lucky getting picked up by them and starting pro ball. They kind of made that transition pretty easy for me. And then, Rays are great too. So whenever I got traded, you're a little bummed kind of leaving all your friends that you made that first year. But they've developed me a bunch, made some really good teammates, really good friends over there. And I've gotten pretty lucky with just having two good organizations. And obviously the constant day in, day out grind, they really take care of you and make sure that you're got everything that you need to stay ready. So I've been pretty grateful for that.
Yeah, sounds awesome. So one last thing I want to leave the viewers with is a piece of advice from someone like you, because you're a professional ball player, and it's always nice to get advice from someone who's higher up and someone who's got the job done. So if you have one piece of advice for athletes or even just people out there, what would you say to them about working hard or anything like that?
I found this to be true with most things in life, but especially for pitching and probably for hitting as well. I was never too good at hitting, so didn't have too much experience with that. But I would say there's more than one way to do something usually. And just because something works for one person, it might not work for you. So you really need to kind of like own your craft and know what works for you. I'm not saying like don't be coachable by any means. You need to like learn new things as you go, obviously. But if you're doing this drill and you're like, I feel like this just isn't for me, like I'm not feeling like I'm moving right and messing with my arm action or something, you have to know like in your head, like, okay, like maybe I should switch something or change this drill a tiny bit to kind of fit like what makes you you and what you've kind of found to help you, I guess I would say. There's more than one way to do things and figure out what makes you special and just keep digging at that.
Gotcha. All right. Well, I really appreciate you coming on. Like I said, hopefully, when things kick back up, you'll get a chance to play in the majors someday, and we can connect again and see how you're doing. But like I said, I really appreciate you coming on. It's awesome to see a local kid like yourself succeeding and playing at the high level. So if you have anything else, please let me know. But if not, we can conclude things.
No, I think we covered it all. Appreciate you having me on here.
All right, that's awesome. Thank you so much, and thank you to the viewers for tuning in to A Playmakers View. I'm your host, as always, Jimmy Burdish, and we'll be back with you guys next week for another episode.